and we're here with Scott Sherman, and we're going to be interviewing Scott today concerning leadership and administration. And we welcome you to this interview, and we're certainly glad, Scott, that you showed up. We'll shake your hand.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for agreeing to take your valuable time to be with us and share with us your leadership knowledge. And we can always learn from everybody, and I'm looking forward to learning from you today with this. So we want to welcome you to this interview, and just go with us as we go through these questions, and we're going to learn from Scott Sherman today. Scott, what is your official title at BB&T?
My official title is Financial Center Leader, which fits in the philosophy of our company, a philosophy that believes a lot in leadership and so forth, and I'm very happy for that. My job overall is managing the branch here locally, all the lending and just managing all the day-to-day activities.
How did you get to BB&T? What's your kind of career path and some decisions that got you where you are today?
Career path has varied a lot over the time. My background, I guess, education-wise, goes back to receiving a bachelor's degree from Morehead State University in business finance. So it's kind of my background as far as having this job. Leading up to this job, I worked everywhere from sawmills to driving trucks to on college campuses. So very varied work experience. So
you've got a background, your education experiences, you got a BA in business.
Yeah, administration, and specialized in finance. More specifically, I planned on being a certified financial planner, CFP. I took all the classes for that, and then decided that's really not something I wanted to do. So that's basically my educational background is more into the personal finance part of it,
right,
which works perfectly here.
Yeah. What is your personal philosophy of leadership administration?
My personal philosophy on leadership administration kind of goes back to what I said earlier. Administer by example is my personal philosophy on it. I try to administer of why I'm doing things and why the team should do things. Our overall vision as a company is to be the best of the best, to create the best financial institution possible. As you were talking earlier, my company, fortunately, leadership is a very big aspect of our careers. We have to go through a lot of training, and none of it has to do with, or very little of it has to do with numbers and things of that nature. It's more leadership philosophies and things of that nature. So we have a lot of leadership training, and we even have a leadership development program for incoming managers. It's a very rigorous 6-month program. So leadership's very big.
What would be some of the administrative things that you would do on a daily basis in a relationship between you and your employees to lead them?
Right.
Personally,
come to work on time. I think that's very key. You start off the day strong. Like for example, this week we're celebrating National Client Appreciation Week. So every morning we have a little 5 to 10 minute pep talk. It's organized by the company, but we do have some leeway in how to relate it to our team members. So that's something we do here this week, just for example, because we've done it this morning as well. That's one of the administrative things we do, is have little talks in the morning. And also we call them coaching sessions because we consider ourselves a team. And positive reinforcement is very important in that. Even if there's something we need a negative we need to address with one of our teammates, I call it a positive sandwich. You start off, you're doing a great job. This is where you need to improve. You're doing a great job, type of thing. So that's one of the administrative things that we do. Is always reinforce the positives, celebrate small successes. As far as working with the team, some people like public praise, some people like private praise. Have one particular loves public praise, so if she does something good, I'll probably make a big deal out of it for everybody else. I think being able to read your team and knowing their personal philosophies and beliefs as well. Some other ones prefer to get a pat on the back behind closed doors, so to say. So that's some of the administrative things that we do. Also remind them of our goals, and not just tell them we got to get this many things this week, but tell them how we're going to do it. We have them commit to it on Mondays usually of what they're going to do, and we don't want to say I'm going to refer 10 new accounts this week. It's not realistic.
Right.
What can you do and how are you going to do it? So that's something we do on a daily basis as well. We also have client service meetings every Thursday morning. We call them perfect client experience meetings, and product knowledge on Wednesdays. So we have a great schedule, keeps us on track, and it really helps administrate leadership on my end of it. It makes it a lot easier.
How do you let's say that an employee comes into your organization,
Uh-huh.
and they have a different set of values and culture than what is there at your branch of
Right.
BB&T. How would you go about in getting that employee to conform her, the old culture to the
Right.
new culture? How would you get them to adapt their culture to yours?
That can be tough. See if they're even workable before I hire them, but that's not always the case. Things may not appear the way they are, or sometimes you just have to hire somebody just because you need them. I realize that everybody is valuable in some way, or I wouldn't even be interviewing them in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Try to see what their assets are and line them up and show them what ours are. Just dealing that with them every day, whether it's your coaching sessions or however we need to do it. And I also think being able to read the person somewhat is a skill.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, a little bit like public or private praise, or if they react better to more discipline, or if you just kind of say, hey, do this, and they're better off that way without a lot of authority over them, which is the way we normally work. So it's tough, and I'm fortunate the company's been around 138 years, and it's pretty obvious. Our style of thinking is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
We got something to back it up. We're not just coming out and saying, this is the way to do it. We can actually back it up, and we have a lot of training materials for that type of stuff. The biggest thing that we try to control with us, personally for me and the company as well, is control the client experience. You can always be good and nice to your client in front of you. And that's the most important thing. We can't control rates and fees all the time, but we can control how we treat people, which goes a long way, and that's the biggest part of our business is relationships. Just get them to understand that values.
How would you characterize your style of administration? Is it more authoritarian, democratic? Is it laissez-faire, hands-off? I think you kind of answered that maybe
right.
a little bit.
I'm democratic with a touch of the hands-off there. I want everybody to know why we're doing it. I let everybody speak up. If they don't think we should be doing this, tell me. I'm open to that. Whether it's talking with everybody, before the branch opens or closed and there's no clients around. If somebody else address me in front of everybody else, or if they want to go in an office and talk about it, that's fine too. So I'm definitely democratic in that way. But I'm hands-off to the point that if they're doing their job, I'm not going to hound them just because I respect them in that way.
Right.
And I'm fortunate I got a team at my branch that if I tell them to do something or tell them we need to do something, they're going to do it, everything they possibly can.
Right.
And one of the greatest things I think we can to make me feel like I'm doing my job is when I'm out of the office, the branch runs just fine without me, which is good, which is what we want, because I can't always be there, and I want them to have the abilities to run the branch even if I'm not there or know where to get the resources to. So I'm mostly democratic, and I try to stay hands off as much as.
In your opinion, how does a leader administrate in a way that distinguishes himself from others in an organization?
I'll start out with the company itself. When I first started at the branch about 4.5 years ago, my title and everybody else had my job throughout the company is Financial Center Managers, FCMs for short. Changed that to Financial Center Leaders because I want to get away from the manager type of authoritarian wording because we're expected to be leaders, not managers.
But how do you administrate in a way that distinguishes yourself from others in the organization?
Once again, I try to lead by example is my biggest thing. I don't try to take on. I'll take on anything I need to, whether it's something on the teller line or something with an account opening or service issues. Just try to serve as an example. And like I said earlier, I don't ask anybody to do something I personally wouldn't want to do. And that's just my personal style, and it's worked good with my team. So that's how I try to distinguish myself there. And like I said, to set a good example myself by being to work on time. I don't call in sick unless I'm really sick or my little girl's sick, or I don't miss work. Try to keep a good name in the community and do things outside of work that are beneficial for the community, because that's one of our big philosophies in our company as well. So I just try to distinguish myself as the leader of the branch and try to handle things as they come in, not put them off, whether that's employee issues or client issues.
So you believe, just from understanding what you were saying a while ago, you believe there's a difference between the way leaders administrate to the way that managers administrate.
Correct.
You want to elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah, like I said, leaders, this overall takes a team and tries to get everybody to a common purpose. The team has a goal, whereas the manager might just say, you do 75 transactions today and you open 7 accounts. Mm-hmm. That's not my personal beliefs nor the company's.
Right.
So I definitely try to make it a team approach with college other teammates. Like I said, we have coaching sessions when we do need to address things, and it's not always a bad thing if you're in a coaching session. It might be, hey, you're doing a great job at this. How are you doing it? What can we do to help the other team members do the same thing?
Okay, that's interesting.
So, like I said, the positive reinforcement is a big part of the leadership compared to the manager type of style, I believe.
So if you were to look at your organization, just keying from what you just said about workers implementing something that others can learn from, so you basically would have you'd be adaptable as far as your way of doing things, right, or your particular culture. If there was a better way discovered by an employee to do it, you'd be open, right, to that and changing that system.
Right. One of the philosophies of our company is grow or die. Which you're doing one of the two things in life, whether it's a company or it's a person. You're either growing or you're dying. One of the two things. Growing. Whether it could be something simple, not necessarily financially, but growing in our roles and learning new ways to do things. So we continually try to learn and that type of stuff in different avenues. So that's real important to us, is always to grow. And the company also has innovation awards. If you do something that's just really great, you can receive rewards for that from the company. Is really nice. So the company as a whole supports it as well.
Yeah. Do you think that it's harder for a financial institution to be more people oriented than maybe other organizations?
Back to coal mining, but it goes back to clients as well. They got to stay focused, yeah, on the clients. But it's tough right now. Like I said, with everything coming at the financial industry and how things are changing, to stay outwardly focused rather than inwardly focused. Fortunate for my company, has weathered the storm real well and wasn't involved in all the financial mess that other companies had to deal with. So we're still able to get out and meet our clients and stuff rather than having to stay focused on fixing things that we've done wrong years ago, because we stayed out of that. So,
what are the most important lessons about leadership and administration that you've learned?
As far as leadership and administration, if you're going to do something, if you say you're going to do something, be sure and do it. A lot of times, especially, like I said earlier, a lot of times in the mornings we'll kind of talk about what we need to do and how we can grow our branch and satisfy our clients. It all sounds great. Then 9 o'clock the door's open and you're just run over, and it's 3 o'clock before you even look up. So that's something I have to work on too. If we're saying we're going to do something, be sure and follow up on it and hold people accountable for what they say they're going to do. Is big for me in my branch. And leadership, realize there's always going to be somebody better than me, and I can always learn from somebody, whether it's a supervisor or the CEO of the company, or whether it's a client that comes in. I may learn something from them that can help me be a better leader for my people. And like I said, I try to keep up with my employees as well, my teammates, of what's going on with them, and realize if somebody's not performing well at work, a lot of times it's something outside of work that's bleeding over. Yeah. I try to keep that in mind too, that all of our people are people, all of our teammates are people as well, and just try to keep that in mind and not always dictate you got to do this, and here they are, their mom's about to die or something like that. So I always try to keep that in mind as well, and be real supportive and keep that positive aspect on things.
That's incredible.
That's something that's important to me too. I always try to look at the bright side of things.